The ice cream dream and the park bench. The final school bell's peal had scarcely faded when Lily, buoyed by the promise of summer, practically flew down the steps. Ice cream beckoned. Not just any cone, mind you, but a magnificent double-decker of mint chocolate chip and strawberry, cradled in a perfectly crisp waffle. She could almost taste the blissful chill as she navigated the familiar route home, her imagination swirling with sugary delights. Usually, she'd detour through the park, a verdant sanctuary amidst the city's clamor. This afternoon, the park shimmered in the sun's mellow glow, the air perfumed with mown grass and fragrant roses. Approaching her favorite oak near the pond, she spotted a hunched figure on a bench. An elderly man, his face a roadmap of wrinkles that hinted at a life fully lived, yet somehow deeply burdened. His clothes, though clean, looked slept in, his hands were knotted together in his lap. He simply sat, gazing at the ground in utter despondency. Lily paused, conflicted. Her mother's words echoed in her mind, "A little kindness goes a long way, Lilybug." Yet, approaching strangers felt different, unsettling. Caution, she knew, was vital. Still, the old man's image lingered, a silent entreaty in his drooping shoulders. She slowed, the call of ice cream temporarily muted. He hadn't stirred. He seemed lost to the world, a lone mariner without a compass. With a fortifying breath, Lily altered course, her sneakers now whispering against the paved path towards him. A nervous flutter tickled her stomach, but the thought of leaving him to his solitude felt unbearable. "Excuse me," she began, her voice barely audible. No response. Lily drew nearer, her shadow falling across his form. "Excuse me, sir? Are you okay?" Slowly, he lifted his gaze. His eyes, faded pools of blue, held a weariness that tugged at her heart. He blinked, as if struggling to focus. "All right," he rasped, his voice like dry leaves skittering across pavement. "No, child, I fear I am not." Lily settled on the bench's edge, careful to leave a respectful space between them. "Is there anything I can do?" she asked, her voice gaining some confidence. He considered her, really saw her, his gaze lingering on her face. A fleeting smile played on his lips, a brief spark of warmth that had long been extinguished. "That's good of you, little one. But I doubt it. I'm just old. Worn out. Maybe you're hungry," Lily suggested, recalling the granola bar nestled in her backpack. "Or some water, perhaps." The old man chuckled, a faint, rattling sound. "Water wouldn't go amiss, I reckon." Lily rummaged in her bag, producing a bottle and the granola bar. She extended them to him, her hand trembling just a fraction. He accepted the water with a nod of thanks, taking a slow, deliberate drink. He then peeled back the granola bar's wrapper, nibbling a small piece with evident appreciation. "Thank you, child," he managed, his voice a touch stronger now. "You're a kind soul." Lily's cheeks flushed. "What's your name?" she inquired. "They call me Arthur," he answered. "Arthur Penhaligon." A penny's worth of kindness. The afternoon sun pressed heavily on Lily's shoulders, amplifying the warmth of the coin slick in her hand. She hadn't intended to gawk, yet the solitary figure on the park bench radiated such forlorn solitude. His garments, bleached by time, his shoes, worn thin, and a crumpled paper sack at his side painted a picture of quiet desperation. The anticipation of a soft-serve, rainbow-sprinkled cone had propelled her toward Mr. Softy. Now, the treat felt extravagant. Summoning her courage, she approached. "Excuse me," she whispered, her voice a thread against the backdrop of urban noise. The man raised his head, revealing eyes the clear azure of a summer sky, a striking contrast to his weathered face. A kind smile etched itself onto his features, radiating outward to those brilliant eyes. "Well now, hello there." Lily opened her palm, displaying her meager offering. I was going to get ice cream, but maybe you could use this more." She avoided his gaze, fixing her attention on the peeling paint of the bench. A soft chuckle, like dry leaves rustling in a breeze, escaped him. "That's awfully generous, little one. Truly kind." He reached out, his knuckles knotted with age, and accepted the coins with deliberate care. A bit of kindness shines brighter than any gold, you know. He paused, scrutinizing the coins as if they were priceless gems. Tell you what, I'll accept this fine gift. And as payment, I'll spin you a yarn. Curiosity bloomed in Lily, eclipsing her earlier timidity. She settled on the edge of the bench, her frozen dessert momentarily forgotten. A story. Indeed. A tale of flying machines. He leaned back, eyes lifting to the cerulean expanse above. Back when I was a lad with all my hair, barely older than you, I used to pilot those magnificent contraptions. Great metal birds, they were, soaring through the heavens, waltzing with the wind. Lily's eyes grew large. You were a pilot? That I was. Navigated all sorts of planes. The speed demons, the nimble ones, even the ones riddled with bullet holes. A fleeting shadow crossed his face. I witnessed things up there, child. Breathtaking sights, horrifying sights. Things that left their mark on me forever. He recounted aerobatic displays, biplanes pirouetting like dancers across the sky, the visceral roar of their engines vibrating through bone and sinew. He spoke of the endless, azure canvas, the unmatched freedom of ascending above earthly concerns. His voice, though steady, vibrated with passion, the enduring love for flight still burning brightly. He described an incident where a forced landing in a farmer's field led to unexpected help and a lasting friendship. He shared tales of daring missions, brushes with death, and the profound bonds forged with his fellow airmen. As he narrated, Lily almost felt the planes beneath her, heard the thunder of the engines, felt the exhilarating rush of wind. The park blurred and vanished, replaced by the immense, blue theater of the sky. She forgot all about ice cream, her thoughts consumed by the unfolding saga. As the sun dipped below the horizon, splashing the sky with vibrant shades of coral and amethyst, the old man concluded his story. He turned to Lily, his eyes alight with gentle warmth. You see, sometimes the smallest act of generosity can unlock the grandest adventures. The general's arrival. The sun beat down on Lily's neck, but a cool breeze rustled the leaves of the oak tree, offering a small measure of relief. She was mid-sentence, describing her struggles with Mrs. Davison's impossible algebra homework, when a sleek, black car, so polished it mirrored the surrounding trees, glided to a stop at the curb nearby. It purred like a contented cat, a sound entirely out of place in the quiet park. Lily faltered, her words trailing off. The old man, whom she'd thought was homeless, simply watched the car with an unreadable expression. A woman emerged from the back seat. She was tall and impeccably dressed in a navy suit, her hair pulled back in a severe bun. She moved with a quiet confidence, her heels clicking softly on the pavement as she approached. Lily instinctively straightened her posture, suddenly self-conscious about her own faded jeans and t-shirt. General Thompson, the woman said, her voice crisp and professional, I trust you are well? The car is ready when you are. Lily's jaw dropped. General Thompson? She glanced at the old man, really seeing him for the first time. The lines etched on his face weren't just from hardship, they spoke of command, of responsibility. His eyes, though kind, held a steely glint that hinted at a life far removed from park benches and discarded newspapers. He nodded slowly at the woman. Thank you, Eleanor. Just give me a few more minutes. Eleanor Ainsworth, Lily guessed that was her name, turned her attention to Lily. Her gaze was sharp, assessing, but not unkind. Miss Chen, Lily supplied, her voice barely a whisper. Lily Chen. Miss Chen, I apologize for the interruption. The general enjoys visiting his old neighborhood. He finds solace here. Eleanor paused, choosing her words carefully. Perhaps you weren't aware, but General Thompson is a highly decorated war hero. He served our country with distinction for over 30 years. Lily's mind reeled. A war hero? This gentle old man, who had shared his meager lunch with a stray pigeon, was a decorated general. It seemed impossible, a scene ripped from a movie. She pictured him in a crisp uniform, barking orders, leading troops into battle. The image clashed violently with the peaceful figure sitting beside her. He prefers to keep a low profile, Eleanor continued, her voice softening slightly. He values his privacy and appreciates being treated like anyone else. He asked that I apologize if his unassuming appearance caused any misunderstanding. Misunderstanding? Lily felt a flush creep up her neck. She had assumed she had pitied him. The shame burned. But beneath the embarrassment, a thrill of excitement sparked. This wasn't just some homeless man, this was General Arthur Thompson, a legend in his own time. And she, Lily Chen, was sitting right next to him. An invitation to grandeur. The revelation settled between them, thick as the sultry air of that summer afternoon. General Arthur Thompson. A name typically uttered with hushed reverence now crashed against Lily's eardrums like a rogue wave. General. I had no inkling, she managed, her voice betraying her shock. A low, resonant chuckle rumbled from him, a balm to her rising embarrassment. My dear girl, no apologies necessary. The anonymity was rather refreshing, truth be told. It's been ages since I've been regarded as simply a man, rather than a figurehead. He straightened his well-worn jacket, a subtle smile gracing his features. Your kindness, Lily, is a rare commodity these days. It served as a potent reminder of what truly matters. Instead of the spare change she anticipated, he produced a meticulously crafted card from his pocket, offering it with a gentle inclination of his head. I would be deeply gratified if you and your mother would accept my invitation to dinner at my home. Please, consider it a small repayment for your generosity. Lily accepted the card gingerly. The heavy stock felt luxurious beneath her fingertips, the embossed script a testament to understated elegance. The listed address belonged to an estate in the exclusive North District, a realm she'd only glimpsed from the bus window, a landscape of immaculate lawns, imposing gates, and hushed tales of unimaginable affluence. I hardly know what to say, she stammered, the words barely audible. The invitation felt like a dream materialized, a passport to a different reality. Say you'll give it some thought, General Thompson suggested, his voice laced with warmth. Sharing an evening with such gracious company would be a genuine pleasure. He stood, his movements betraying none of his years. Extending a hand, he said, I must be on my way. Duty, however attenuated, still beckons. His handshake was firm, surprisingly vital. Watching him depart, his posture erect despite the passage of time, she felt a curious blend of anticipation and apprehension. Later that evening, Lily presented the invitation to her mother, Mai Lin, with careful deliberation. Mai Lin, a pragmatist to her core, initially brushed it aside as a youthful prank. However, the earnestness in Lily's tone, paired with the undeniable opulence of the card, gradually eroded her skepticism. General Thompson. Mai Lin echoed, her brow furrowed in thought. The celebrated war hero? The one for whom the new hospital wing is named. Lily confirmed, recounting the afternoon's encounter, carefully omitting her misjudgment of the general's circumstances and emphasizing his genuine affability. Mai Lin examined the card meticulously, turning it over in her hands. This is quite an honor, Lily. But are you certain? It's not our world. I know, Mom, Lily responded, her pulse quickening, but he seemed genuinely sincere. And perhaps it would be beneficial for us. A chance to broaden our horizons. Mai Lin sighed, a familiar expression of worry creasing her face. Very well, Lily. We shall attend. But we will be impeccably behaved. And we shall don our Sunday best, even if it falls short of their standards. As Lily succumbed to sleep that night, the image of the North Side estate dominated her thoughts. It cast a long shadow in her mind, a monument to grandeur and an uncharted, potentially daunting landscape. What attire was appropriate? What conversational topics would be suitable? Would she commit the cardinal sin of spilling soup on an irreplaceable heirloom? The questions churned within her, a heady brew of excitement and trepidation. The portal to an elevated world had opened, and she, alongside her mother, was poised to cross the threshold. Amidst the marble and gold. The wrought iron gates loomed, easily twice the height of their small apartment building back in Queens. As the taxi pulled to a stop, Lily stared, her mouth slightly agape. This wasn't just a house, it was a palace, a monument of stone and glass that seemed to stretch on forever. Her mom squeezed her hand, a reassuring gesture that didn't quite reach her own wide eyes. "Well," Mrs. Chen said, her voice a touch breathless. "This is something." Lily could only nod, a knot of anxiety tightening in her stomach. The park bench, the shared cookies, the easy conversation with the old man, it all felt like a lifetime ago, a different reality entirely. Now, faced with this overwhelming display of wealth, the memory felt tainted with embarrassment. A woman emerged from the mansion, her bearing as polished and refined as the marble steps before her. She wore a tailored suit of muted grey, her dark hair pulled back in a severe bun. This had to be Miss Ainsworth. "Mrs. Chen? Lily? Welcome. General Thompson is expecting you." Her voice was crisp and professional, with the faintest hint of a smile playing on her lips. Miss Ainsworth led them up the steps and through massive oak doors, inlaid with panels of shimmering gold. Lily felt a lump forming in her throat. This was like stepping into a museum, except no one was stopping her from touching things, though she had no intention of doing so. The entrance hall was breathtaking. A chandelier, easily the size of their entire living room, hung from the vaulted ceiling, casting a warm glow on the intricate mosaic floor. Sunlight streamed through stained glass windows, depicting scenes Lily couldn't quite decipher, but assumed were historical or biblical or something equally important and far removed from her life. "Please, come this way," Miss Ainsworth said, her heels clicking softly on the marble. They followed her through a series of rooms, each more opulent than the last. Lily caught glimpses of priceless artwork, antique furniture, and gleaming silverware displayed in glass cases. The air was thick with the scent of beeswax and something else she couldn't quite place, a floral fragrance that felt both expensive and strangely comforting. Mrs. Chen, usually so talkative, was uncharacteristically quiet, her eyes darting around the room with a mixture of awe and apprehension. Lily knew her mom was trying to appear composed, but she could see the worry etched on her face. They were fish out of water, two guppies suddenly dropped into the ocean. Finally, Miss Ainsworth stopped before a pair of ornate double doors. "General Thompson is in the library. Please, make yourselves comfortable." She gave them another small, polite smile and then, with a rustle of her impeccable suit, disappeared down the hallway. Mrs. Chen turned to Lily, her brow furrowed. "Honey, are you sure about this? We don't have to stay if you're not comfortable." Lily hesitated. A part of her wanted to run, to escape back to the familiar comfort of their small apartment. But another part, the part that had enjoyed the general's stories and appreciated his kindness, felt obligated to stay. Besides, she was intensely curious. "Let's just see what he has to say, Mom," she said, trying to sound braver than she felt. "We can always leave if we want to." Mrs. Chen took a deep breath and nodded. "Okay, sweetie. But remember, we stick together." Stories of courage and sacrifice. The dining room shimmered, a curated tableau of polished silverware and flickering candlelight. Mrs. Chen sat as if sculpted from ice, her hands clenched in her lap, a delicate film of moisture betraying her unease. Lily, attempting a facade of indifference, found the room's magnificence only highlighted the threadbare quality of her vintage dress. General Thompson, holding court at the table's head, exuded a disarming geniality that gradually thawed the tense atmosphere. A refined consommé, presented with quiet ceremony, marked the meal's beginning. Eschewing pleasantries, General Thompson instead launched into a story, a vivid recollection from the Vietnam War. "We were caught in a monsoon downpour, utterly exposed," he began, his voice tinged with memory. "Surrounded, our radio dead, hope dwindling faster than twilight. A kid, barely a man, volunteered to crawl through enemy fire to repair the antenna. He knew the odds." Lily's feigned composure crumbled, she leaned forward, captivated. Even Mrs. Chen visibly softened, drawn into the tale's orbit. "He succeeded," Thompson continued, his voice thick with emotion. "Fixed the antenna. But on his return, a bullet found him. Saved us all, that boy. Gave everything he had. Silence descended, heavy with unspoken remembrance. Never tasted liberation. He then shifted to another recollection, this one set in a war-torn Afghan village. Children were trapped inside a schoolhouse, rigged with explosives by insurgents. Thompson, then a captain, led a desperate rescue attempt. The air choked with dust and terror, he described, his gaze distant. Minutes, perhaps seconds. The sound of their cries. It still echoes. He painted a picture of bursting through the barricaded door, a chaotic melee, the frantic evacuation against a ticking clock. Lily could almost feel the blast's heat, the palpable dread, the unwavering dedication. The aroma of roasted chicken, freshly presented, receded into insignificance. We saved them, he said, strength returning to his tone. But I lost brave souls that day. Men who confronted danger head-on. Believers. He didn't linger on gruesome details, yet Lily sensed the crushing weight of his experiences, the burdens he carried. He spoke with deep reverence for those who served, of their sacrifices, the scars they carried, some visible, others etched on the soul. By the time a honey-glazed pastry arrived, Lily's perception of General Thompson had been utterly transformed. The seemingly harmless old man she dismissed was a warrior, a leader, a hero. Shame surged, a tide of regret. She had been so quick to judge, so careless in her assessment. He caught her gaze and offered a gentle, knowing smile. Courage isn't always about battlefield heroics, Lily, he murmured. Sometimes, it's simply about choosing the difficult path, the righteous path. He paused, turning his gaze to Mrs. Chen. And sometimes, it's about opening yourself to unexpected possibilities. A hospital in need. The pigeons cooed, strutting boldly across the checkered tiles of the park. Lily sprinkled crumbs from her biscotti, still reeling from Arthur's revelation. General Thompson. The name echoed with a gravitas that the kindly old man in the worn tweed jacket simply hadn't conveyed. War hero. Philanthropist. Millionaire. It felt surreal, like stepping into a movie. So, she began, a nervous laugh escaping her lips. All that talk about the stock market being rigged, you weren't exactly speaking from a position of ignorance, were you? Arthur chuckled, a warm, genuine sound that eased some of her embarrassment. Let's just say I've had a few fortunate post-war investments. Diversification is key, my dear. Though I confess, watching you explain the intricacies of meme stocks was far more entertaining than reading any financial report. A nearby park bench had a built-in television, muted but displaying a news channel. Suddenly, the volume jumped up, interrupting their conversation. Facing imminent closure due to lack of funding. St. Jude's Children's Hospital, a vital resource for families across the county, is appealing for urgent financial assistance. The screen showed images of bright, cheerful hallways, now tinged with a sense of foreboding. Sick children, their faces partially obscured but their vulnerability undeniable, were being wheeled past murals of cartoon animals. Lily felt a sharp pang in her chest. St. Jude's. That's where Maya had spent so much time. Maya, her childhood best friend, who battled leukemia with a spirit that defied belief. St. Jude's had given her those extra months, those precious memories. Without them. Lily shuddered, unable to complete the thought. Arthur, noticing her change in demeanor, leaned closer. Is everything all right, Lily? The reporter continued, her voice laced with urgency. Without a significant injection of funds within the next 2 weeks, the hospital will be forced to drastically reduce its services, leaving countless children without the specialized care they desperately need. Lily's mind raced. She remembered the countless bake sales, the car washes, the desperate pleas for donations that Maya's family had organized. It hadn't been enough then, and clearly, it still wasn't. An idea, bold and perhaps a little audacious, sparked within her. She turned to Arthur, her eyes shining with sudden resolve. General Thompson, she said, the title now feeling less awkward, more fitting. You said you wanted to find a worthwhile cause. That you were looking for a way to make a real difference. He nodded, his gaze steady and encouraging. St. Jude's is about to close, Lily continued, her voice gaining strength. They need money. A lot of it. You said you had fortunate investments. Maybe you could help. The television screen flashed a phone number for donations. Arthur watched it for a long moment, then turned back to Lily, a thoughtful expression on his face. Come, he said, standing up. Let's go back to my place. We can discuss this further. And perhaps, a twinkle returned to his eyes, I can show you some of those fortunate investments firsthand. A generous heart. Heat flooded Lily's face. General Thompson. The supposed pauper she'd pitied, the recipient of her handout, was a renowned war hero, a man of substantial means and influence. The park bench transformed into an impromptu tribunal, and she, the defendant, stood accused of egregious assumptions. General, she managed, rising slightly from her seat. I truly had no idea. A low chuckle rumbled from him, a comforting sound that chipped away at her mortification. Arthur, please. And don't give it another thought, Lily. I found your company quite agreeable. And your candor. He motioned for her to sit. It's been a while since anyone spoke so freely, unburdened by my title. Quite refreshing, really. She eased back down, discomforted still. The meticulously crafted park, usually a sanctuary, now felt like a spotlight illuminating her blunder. The perfume of roses seemed a taunt to her misjudgment. Then, an audacious idea, forged in desperation, flickered to life. A long shot, a gamble, but the hospital. She inhaled deeply. Arthur, she ventured, you mentioned wanting to make a difference, to do something consequential. He inclined his head, his sharp blue gaze unwavering. Indeed. Our hospital, she declared, her voice gaining conviction, St. Jude's, is teetering on the brink. Facing closure. The community depends on it profoundly, its services are indispensable. But funding is non-existent. The words caught, a lump forming in her throat. If someone with the resources, could intervene, it would save countless lives. Silence descended, broken only by the twittering of unseen birds. Lily dared not meet his eyes, her gaze fixed on the time-worn paving stones. Had she overstepped her bounds? Mortified herself beyond repair? Finally, his voice, low and contemplative, broke the stillness. You're not pleading for yourself, are you, Lily? Your every action is for others. She shook her head, her response unwavering. Only for the patients. For the tireless dedication of the doctors and nurses. For the community that desperately needs St. Jude's. He steepled his fingers, lost in thought. Then, he looked directly at her, his eyes piercing. Tell me more about this hospital. Lily unleashed the full story, the devoted staff, the groundbreaking research, the neglected population it served, the imminent threat of collapse. Passion ignited her words, her initial awkwardness eclipsed by the urgency of their plight. When she'd finished, Arthur Thompson remained silent, lost in contemplation. Then, with surprising agility for a man his age, he rose. He extended a hand. Lily, he stated, his voice resonant with purpose, I will donate $5 million to St. Jude's Hospital. It will remain open. Lily gasped, her hand instinctively covering her mouth. $5 million. His smile bloomed, genuine and warm, transforming his face. Consider it an investment in a brighter future, and a thank you for a delightful afternoon. And, he added, a glint in his eye, perhaps a small amends for leading you astray regarding my circumstances. He paused momentarily. I would be honored if you would join me for dinner this evening, Lily. We can discuss the particulars. My driver will collect you at 7. The gift of kindness. The banner blazed against the hospital's brick facade, a future secured, thanks to community support. Lily was stunned. Word had rocketed through their neighborhood, the struggling hospital, on the verge of collapse, had been rescued. A single, anonymous donation, colossal enough to guarantee its solvency for years, had saved it. Mrs. Chen gave her daughter's hand a reassuring squeeze. "They're saying it's because of you, Lily. All your thoughtfulness." A blush warmed Lily's cheeks. It seemed preposterous. All she had done was offer a sandwich to a hungry old man. Now, that same man sat opposite them in their cramped apartment, the afternoon sunlight illuminating the silver in his hair. Gone was the ragged coat, he was now clad in a refined tweed suit, a gold timepiece gleaming at his wrist. Standing beside him, Miss Ainsworth projected an aura of hushed competence. "General Thompson," Lily managed, the name finally triggering a flood of recognition. The newspaper photographs, the nurse's hushed reverence, suddenly, it clicked into place with startling clarity. I assumed, destitute." A low, resonant chuckle emanated from General Thompson. "A common misconception, my dear. I find it rather freeing, actually." Still uneasy, Mrs. Chen's gaze flitted nervously between her daughter and their visitor. She'd offered minimal conversation since his arrival, serving tea with hands that trembled slightly. General Thompson paused. "Lily, that small kindness, that simple sandwich, it reminded me what's paramount. A lifetime spent in service exposed me to the darker aspects of humanity, but your act, so pure and unbidden, reignited a faith I thought extinguished." He stopped, laughter lines appearing around his eyes. "Truthfully, it spurred me into action." Ms. Ainsworth advanced, presenting a slender leather portfolio. "General Thompson desires to establish a charitable trust in your name, Lily. The Lily Chen Foundation will dedicate itself to supporting vulnerable children, both locally and across the globe." The breath hitched in Lily's lungs. A foundation? Bearing her name? It defied belief. He raised a hand, forestalling Miss Ainsworth. "It's about more than just endowments, Lily. I intend to participate. To help steer the foundation, to ensure its impact is genuinely meaningful. And I would very much like to be your friend." Then, he began to weave tales. Stories of his youth, on a rural farm, his years in the armed forces, the sacrifices he had witnessed, and the understated heroism that often went unacknowledged. He spoke of the isolation that accompanied influence and fortune, the struggle to forge authentic connections. Initially reserved and apprehensive, Mrs. Chen visibly thawed as she listened, her own narratives of adversity and strength slowly surfacing. The tiny living room, typically filled with the anxieties of their precarious existence, now radiated warmth and shared understanding. "I discovered that true wealth isn't measured in monetary value, Lily," General Thompson remarked softly. "It's quantified by acts of compassion. And you, my dear, possess riches beyond measure." The ever-observant Miss Ainsworth permitted herself a subtle, almost invisible smile. "The General is rarely incorrect, Miss Chen. He possesses an uncanny instinct for recognizing the inherent good in others." As the afternoon waned, General Thompson extended his hand to Lily. "I believe this is only the genesis of a remarkable bond." Lily gripped his hand, a genuine smile illuminating her features. The initial shock and embarrassment had dissipated, replaced by a dawning sense of wonder and thankfulness. Still struggling to grasp the enormity of it all, she gazed into General Thompson's benevolent eyes, knowing, with absolute certainty, that something momentous had just begun. Kindness, she thought, truly was a priceless offering, capable of transforming the world, one simple act at a time.